You're listening to Building Three Pillars, and I'm your host, John Waters. Hope you guys had an amazing weekend. As usual, it was kind of cool this weekend. Not quite the best, but what do you expect when it's fall? All right. Today's Motivation Monday topic is going to be rest, don't quit. And our quote is going to come from the Dalai Lama. It says, if you feel burnout setting in, if you feel demoralized and exhausted, it is best for the sake of everyone to withdraw and restore yourself. And as usual, my question to you all is when your body is tired, do you actually give it the opportunity to rest or do you keep the pedal to the metal? All right. So today's topic seemed pretty fitting. If you guys know me in person or if you've ever had the opportunity to work with me, I have a very go mentality. All right. And so very early on in my career, especially if you followed me on any of my social media sites, I was always preaching about the hustle. I was always talking about how we need to grind, how resting is for, lazy people and things like that. And I have to withdraw all of those statements and say that I was speaking from a very ignorant position. All right. And so my background, as you guys know, was military. And back then, we were on the go. Our biggest thing was to hurry up and wait, and the killer part for me was the waiting because I don't mind the hurry up portion of it. And so I carried that with me into, the what we like to call the civilian life. And so I definitely was fully in favor of the idea of I need to always be doing something. I, for one, hate stagnation. And I don't know how many of you can relate to that, but I am just not a fan of feeling like, nothing's changing. I get overly anxious and excited when I feel like the world is moving and I'm the only one standing still. But what I've had to take into account is that that's not always the case. And I know that pushing yourself to, the extremes can be very harmful. Um, my own experience with that kind of happened in a couple of different parts of my life. The first one being in the gym. Before I took on my second job a few years ago, I was just doing personal training. And since I had the luxury of being at the gym all the time, anyways, I decided I would go ahead and kick it up a notch. And what that meant for me was going to the gym, every day because I was already there, but also working out 2 times a day while I was there. And yes, that was 7 days a week. And I was doing it just because I didn't even have a real goal in mind. I just wanted to make sure that I was always in shape because I was a firm believer that as a personal trainer, I am the product. And that is still the belief that I carry today. That part hasn't changed so much. However, I have come to the conclusion that rest is necessary. All right. And the reason that I say that is because if you don't learn to take the time to rest, life will make the time to rest and it will not be at the most convenient time for you. All right. So a couple of different times life kind of kicks me in the butt when I wasn't really, paying attention to my body is when I did pick up my second job outside of the gym. I We had peak season. I don't know how many of you have ever worked in a warehouse or a high paced environment like a factory where when the holidays come in or, the expected shipment rate is going to go up, the pace of activity goes up and you're asked to work longer hours. And of course, the benefit of working the longer hours is you get the higher pay. I mean, who doesn't really want that? Well, I was doing that while still maintaining the other things I was involved in. And I used to fool myself, when I would leave work from the factory and I would be driving to the gym. I used to be a huge fan, as I've mentioned in another podcast series, of Kevin Gates. And the idea of not getting tired used to, that was my motivation. And he used to say in the song that he had 6 jobs. I love the idea of someone having 6 jobs and not being tired. I, however, did not have 6 jobs and I was extremely tired. I can count on, actually, I cannot count on the fingers that I have the amount of times I was driving while tired. I do not advise that. And it was ironic that around this same time, I was fortunate enough to be able to work with a group of other people who weren't necessarily in the fitness industry, but we had a similar objective. We were trying to push an agenda as far as helping other people realize their potential. And part of this process was putting together programs and speeches and things like that to bring awareness to different issues that people may face. And I coincidentally was tasked with the topic of sleep. And ironically, that was the one thing I was not doing very well. And I say one thing, and it may not be very true. I'm pretty sure there were quite a few things I weren't doing well, but resting was amongst the top. And so, how did I get in that position? How did I become the guy who was telling other people how to sleep? Well, it's because I'm the personal trainer guy. And we all know if you go to the gym or if have really dedicated yourself to a lifestyle that requires you to push yourself, whether it be in the gym, in the office, or the classroom, we all know that once you go hard for a certain amount of time, fatigue sets in, and it doesn't matter what it is you're doing, how great your intentions are, fatigue sets in. And when you fatigue and you get mentally tired or physically tired, that's when errors occur. And the purpose of the presentation that I was supposed to be giving was to bring awareness to the idea that the lack of sleep or overworking would lead to more injury and a lack of production. Well, how ironic that those same things were happening to me actually. And so I remember driving home from work, like when I did actually get to go back home to Cincinnati. I remember sitting in traffic, especially during peak season, and it was the worst conditions because that was when they were doing road work on the highway, which if you live in the North Kentucky area, it seems like that's always happening anyways. But during this particular time frame, I think they were working on the bridge, and I was unaware of all the back roads at the time. And so I was pretty much sitting in traffic, praying to, whoever you want to call it, to stay awake. And it did not help that it was really like the slowest form of stop and go traffic I had ever seen. And I remember sometimes making it home and just being thankful that I made it there because I did not remember the trip. And even then it spilled into the training world. I remember being so tired, let's say that I didn't have to go to Cincinnati on that particular day. Let's say I just had to go from the factory to the gym. I remember driving to the gym and just saying, all I got to do is make it there. And I'm sure some of you can relate. Some of you can relate to being tired and just rolling the windows down, turning the music up, and just praying that whatever you're doing is going to work and it's going to be good enough to get you there. And to make things more interesting, I would get to the parking lot and maybe have an hour to sleep after I've already been up for what 20 20 hours. And so I'm trying to like push myself, and I convinced myself that this is the only way to do it. This is the grind, this is the hustle. And what was I doing it for? A paycheck. And I know that hard times forces us to do things that we wouldn't normally do in great conditions. But however, what I learned from that particular incident is that it's still necessary to make the time to rest. It's still very important to make the time to rest. And that doesn't just apply to the planning of taking on extra jobs or things like that. It applies to your success and your performance. Again, I'm a personal trainer, and I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you may work out or you have some kind of endeavor where you're looking to push the agenda a little bit further. But whatever it is you're working on, whether it's putting your materials together for a presentation or whether it's, organizing your workout routine to reach your objective, or whether it's, looking at your school schedule and looking at your classes and saying, this is the grade I want and this is why I want it, is going to take time. It's definitely going to take time to get there. It would be naive of me to sit here and tell you guys that you can get it all done with no rest. It would be silly of me to tell you guys to hit the gym intensely as you can every single day and just grind it out. While yes, I mean, depending on what it is you do and how it is you work and what it is your objective is, it may be necessary for you to train every day, but the way you're training should be intelligently planned. Just as if you were working on a project for work, I would hope that you wouldn't wait to the last minute to where now you only have the last couple of days to get it all done. And now you have to stay up and put this thing together. And that's just going to turn out. I mean, I can't speak for you, personally, but I would say in most scenarios, it's going to turn out awful. You're going to miss something. Something's not going to be as good as it could have been. And to make things worse, if you're anything like me, I'm aware of when I didn't do my best. You will be aware of the same. Why would you want to put yourself in that position? And so I say all that to say that we need to rest to grow. So my background being in fitness, this applies directly to what it is that occurs to the average person, well, any person who's embarking on a fitness journey. We all would like the idea of being able to go to the gym, and do our one session and get the body like Arnold or Ronnie Coleman, or pick your favorite person. We would love that. We would love to have the get quick fix. The fix that gets things done quickly. I don't know why I stumbled over that. We would love to have that available to us, but that's not really the case. It takes time and it does take a grind. However, that grind can be done intelligently, and that grind should definitely include some rest periods in there. I mean, we know when it comes to building muscle, the muscle doesn't get built in the gym. You do the damage there, but the growth happens when you're outside of the gym. The same thing can be said for studying. Really, really early on in the season, I mentioned a book by an author named Carol S. Dweck. And she was talking about the ways that we learn and, fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. Well, that led me on to reading another book where it talked about ways to study and how it talks about you can have the diffuse version of studying versus, the highly focused version of it. And the diffuse version of studying is awesome. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but the way it pretty much goes is, you spend your time intensely doing whatever it is you're doing. So studying, let's say you're working on a math project or you're working on learning a new material for biology. Well, you need to learn all of these terms and all of these, names that go to these particular cells that you're studying, and it can be, a very tedious task. And I know when I took biology, one thing that I did that wasn't great, it was before I had read the book, is I just kind of sat there and just, sat there until my head hurt, pretty much trying to force myself to get it all done. But the book suggested that the best way to get things done is to take in as much as you can, set a time, and then walk away. It even suggested that you may want to go take a nap. And it pointed out, some great minds throughout history who used this method, and it came up with some of their greatest inventions. And so I decided to take that upon myself to use that particular skill set, and it worked. So I say all that to let you guys know that the resting portion of this doesn't just apply to getting big muscles or improving your performance in the gym or whatever your athletic field is. It can also help you mentally. As I mentioned earlier, I was working on a report for the group that I used to work with, and talking about performance in the workplace. And it talked about the lack of sleep being one of the main components for causing accidents in the workplace. It mentioned that, when you don't get enough sleep, your attention wanes off. It mentions that when you don't get enough sleep, you're more prone to make mistakes, which doesn't only lead you to potentially get hurt, but it also slows down the productivity of the overall function of the building. I mean, I know I, for one, wouldn't want to be the person that's responsible for causing someone else to be hurt because I didn't get enough Z's. So I know that was quite a bit. Let's talk about some ways that we can avoid burning out. And these are just some of the things that I've tried, and I hope that they work out well for you. So one thing that I found that should definitely be added, and I'm still really working on, is making time for pleasure. All right. And so I know that we all have goals. I know that we have things that we really want to get done, but you can't get it all done today. I mean, at least not if it's something very big. It's going to take time. And I realized it was a couple weeks ago, actually, I was thinking to myself, like, man, I spent so much time in the gym. I'm not so sure that I'm actually enjoying the gym for myself anymore. And so this week is going to be really about rededicating myself to going to the gym for me and not just showing up for others. Not saying that I don't love that I get to be there for other people, but I have to, find that spot in that moment in time to where I'm selfish with it. Now, for you, that may be something different. Maybe your happy place isn't the gym necessarily. Maybe your place you need to go for pleasure is off to the beach. Depending on where you live, that may not be a good idea right now. But I mean, it may be the library, it may be at a friend's house, it may be, just sitting on your couch with nothing on. But whatever it is that you do to relax and, create that great space for yourself, you should definitely go ahead and include that. Which leads me into the next thing that I have for you guys is you want to make sure that you're prioritizing rest. And so hopefully, if you're anything like me, you've taken on some of my better qualities and you have, in fact, already made rest a part of your planning. And I'm a firm believer that you shouldn't rest if you haven't done anything. And so that's why it's important to plan. So you should definitely have it planned out that, if I grind hard for X amount of time on this particular day, I'm going to take a break. And it doesn't have to be an all day affair because if you're like me, as I keep saying, I don't really necessarily like to not be doing something. So maybe it's just taking a couple hours where you just let yourself sit down and relax and you let things take care of themselves. And that leads me to my very last suggestion for you guys to keep in mind that even though you may not be able to see it, if you put in the work, things are still happening. All right. So there's this rule out there called the rule of sowing and reaping. And it pretty much uses the idea of planting something. Let's say you want to plant, a tree or whatever the case is, or a vegetable. Well, they say that you don't get to eat the fruit the same day you plant the seed. All right. And so the rough translation of that is, it's going to take time. The work you do today is not going to yield the results you expect to see today. However, if you overdo this particular thing, you could mess it up. All right. I mean, you could, if it's talking about your physical health, you could definitely cause yourself some harm. As I mentioned earlier, me not allowing my body the time to rest led to me having a careless injury in the gym. Very careless. It could have been something that was avoided, but I decided, to ignore that. And that's just something that I hope if you take nothing away from today, you take that yes, it's great to push the agenda, but you need to make sure you're doing it intelligently. All right. And I did write something for you guys. I hope you guys like it. It says, no matter how much water you give a small plant, it will still require time to grow. Similarly, no matter how hard you push yourself today, in the classroom, gym, or office, you will need time to reach that next level. Overwatering a plant will kill it. Overworking yourself could kill your ambition. Always remember, it is possible for good things to happen quickly, but the best things will take time. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed today's show if you're watching the actual video. And yes, this is available in video form and in the podcast version. If you would like to hear more of this, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and click and subscribe. If you're following me on Facebook, please share. I appreciate it. If you found anything in this video and or podcast to be helpful, leave a comment. Let me know. And if it's something you didn't disagree, if you didn't agree, I don't know why I'm stumbling so bad today. If you didn't agree with what I said, let me know that also. I appreciate all the feedback. All right. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, Facebook, my name is John Waters, and I go by the tagline of Unlock Your Greatness. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, it is _3P Fitness. If you'd like to follow the business page, I said business. If you'd like to follow the business page, it would be 3 Pillars MBS. This will be following on Instagram. If you'd like to follow on Facebook, it will simply be 3 Pillars Fitness LLC. All right. I hope you guys have an awesome week. And I hope you really do make some time to rest. I know we just got off the weekend, so today may not be your rest day. But just keep in mind that, going hard includes making sure you take the time to rest. You can only go hard and do your best if you have the juice to do so. All right. Have a great week. Have a great day. And as always, keep pushing. Greatness awaits.